chapters of this book is a pamphlet, which he translated and published in 1880 under the title Socialisme utopique et Socialisme scientifique. From this French text a Polish and Spanish edition were prepared. In 1883 our German friends brought out the pamphlet in the original language. Italian, Russian, Danish, Dutch, and Romanian translations based on the German text have since been published. Thus, with the present English edition, this little book circulates in 10 languages. I am not aware that any other socialist work, not even our Communist Manifesto of 1848, or Marxist Kapital, has been so often translated. In Germany it has had 4 editions of about 20,000 copies in all. The economic terms used in this work, as far as they are new, agree with those used in the English edition of Marxist Kapital. We call production of commodities that economic phrase where articles are produced not only for the use of the producers, but also for purposes of exchange, that is, as commodities, not as use values. This phase extends from the first beginnings of production for exchange down to our present time. It attains its full development under capitalist production only, that is, under conditions where the capitalist, the owner of the means of production, employs for wages laborers, people deprived of all means of production except their own labor power, and pockets the excess of the selling price of the products over his outlay. We divide the history of industrial production since the Middle Ages into 3 periods. 1. Handicraft, small master craftsmen with a few journeymen and apprentices, where each laborer produces the complete article. 2. Manufacture, where greater numbers of workmen, grouped in one large establishment, produce the complete article on the principle of division of labor, each workman performing only one partial operation, so that the product is complete only after having passed successfully through the hands of all. 3. Modern industry, where the product is produced by machinery driven by power, and where the work of the laborer is limited to superintending and correcting the performances of the mechanical agent. I am perfectly aware that the contents of this work will meet with objection from a considerable portion of the British public. But if we Continentals had taken the slightest notice of the prejudices of British respectability, we should even be worse off than we are. This book defends what we call historical materialism, and the word materialism grates upon the ears of the immense majority of British readers. Agnosticism might be tolerated, but materialism is utterly inadmissible. And yet the original home of all modern materialism from the 17th century onwards is England. Materialism is the natural-born son of Great Britain. Already the British schoolman Duns Scotus asked whether it was impossible for matter to think. In order to effect this miracle he took refuge in God's omnipotence, that is, he made theology preach materialism. Moreover, he was a nominalist. Nominalism, the first form of materialism, is chiefly found among the English schoolmen. The real progenitor of English materialism is Bacon. To him natural philosophy is the only true philosophy, and physics based upon the experience of the senses is the chiefest part of natural philosophy. Anaxagoras and his Homo Iboeriae, Democritus and his Atoms, he often quotes as his authorities. According to him, the senses are infallible and the source of all knowledge. All science is based on experience, and consists in subjecting the data furnished by the senses to a rational method of investigation. Induction, analysis, comparison, observation, experiment are the principal forms of such a rational method. Among the qualities inherent in matter, motion is the first and foremost, not only in the form of mechanical and mathematical motion, but chiefly in the form of an impulse, a vital spirit, a tension, or a qual, to use a term of Jacob Böhme's, of matter. In Bacon, its first creator, materialism still occludes within itself the germs of a many-sided development. On the one hand, matter, surrounded by a sensuous poetic glamour, seems to attract man's whole entity by winning smiles. On the other, the aphoristically formulated doctrine pullulates with inconsistencies imported from